What is up, crypto gang? Welcome back to another episode of Hack Crypto, where we hack our cryptocurrency and blockchain education. If you guys are brand new here, we do a small little giveaway at the beginning of every single episode. Today's winner is Eric DeRay. Thanks so much for commenting on the previous video. Just sent you a Wax NFT. If you guys want a chance to win on this video, be subscribed with notifications on, comment with your Wax wallet, and I will send you a Wax NFT if you win. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be going over Radix. So Radix is a layer 1 protocol that is a development framework specifically focusing on DeFi. Now, if that sounds like a foreign language to you, what they're trying to do is solve this decentralized finance issue with scalability, security, and decentralization. Those are also known as the Trilemma that has been facing the blockchain space for a very long time. The problem that Radix is solving here is basically the ability to scale without sacrificing the composability. Really excited to go through this, and I'm going to break it down into a couple different categories because I really want to be catering to a lot of the developers out there in the audience, but also I want to be catering to everybody that is unfamiliar with DLTs and how this type of thing works. So I'm going to break it into the key features. I'm going to break it into the problem that the actual Radix consensus is solving. And then I'm also going to discuss how the different components work. And I'm going to try and simplify this down as simple as I can. So first and foremost, let's set up some fundamentals. First, Radix is a layer 1 protocol that is using its own distributed ledger. It's not using blockchain technology because of the flaws that it has identified. The next layer is the application layer. This is where they have Rust, the Radix engine, and Scripto, framework developed by the Radix team. And this is going to avoid hacks and exploits, except we have the consensus algorithm called Cerberus. In my opinion, this is the revolutionary component here because this is where you have the infinite scalability component, and you also maintain that atomic composability. Next up, we have the token, of course, XRD, and then we have EXRD. EXRD being what is wrapped on Ethereum currently. Total supply of XRD that is 12 billion, and then a maximum supply of 24 billion that will not be reached for at least 40 years. So as you can tell, they have really thought through all the different levels of token economics here, where if you set out a 40-year roadmap to maximum supply, you've set out for the long haul. Next up is, of course, my favorite, the staking component here. Now, Radix is using delegated proof of stake. As a big staking fan, this is very important because 300 million XRD is being rewarded to the stakers that are securing the network every single year, which is a beautiful thing, and it's a great incentive for people to go out there, learn more, and figure out how to start staking and get involved with securing the network. Last but most certainly not least is transaction fees. As many of you know, Ethereum transaction gas fees have been through the roof recently, and people have been spending quite a lot on the Ethereum transaction fees. So they're always going to be tiny on Radix, mainly because 100% are burned to reduce the supply over time. They're really trying to incentivize developers to come in to Radix, develop some of these different contracts on their platform. And one of the coolest parts here that I'm going to talk about in a minute is that there is this library that people are going to be able to utilize every time. They don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. They can use someone else's currently built code and use that to build their application. And what happens is there's a royalty that developer can have as other people are using their code. This incentive structure is brilliant because the developers are incentivized to come in, build, and get that passive royalty, sweet income. This is called the Radix Blueprint Library. And this is where people can go in, they can build a little app, or they can just write some code and attach a royalty onto it. And this incentivizes developers to really build all these different types of layer 2 applications on Radix and help other developers, really, just because when they build a little piece of code, putting it into the Blueprint library, and another developer comes along and uses their code, giving them some royalties, let's say that code is then used once again in the library, it just has this really cool compounding effect where everybody wins. All the developers that are creating code within the ecosystem are able to reap some benefits and those royalties from this library. And the developers that come in early on, let's say that they're building out on Scripto and the Radix engine, they're submitting their code to the Radix Blueprint library, making some royalties. The incentive is there to continuously write. and continuously build and add to this library. I was reading up on Cerberus and researching through the white paper. It was pretty mind-melting. Seeing something that is as revolutionary as a consensus algorithm that is built for unlimited scale, I think is a pretty fascinating and bold statement here. So to recap on the key features here, we have the Radix engine, which is the application layer. This is where the developers come in, and this is similar to the Ethereum virtual machine. This is where developers are able to interact with the Radix network, and they're able to build out all these different applications using their programming language. Now, I'm not a developer myself, but I have been in the space for 8 years, and reading through what Scripto, the programming language that's been custom built for DeFi and the Radix network and dApps that are being built, it's pretty mind-melting, once again, similar to the Cerberus algorithm, consensus algorithm. So I highly recommend reading through what Scripto is and the implications there as well, because the goal here is creating a seamless on-ramp to have developers come on, create these apps, giving them incentives to really add them to the Blueprint library and get that royalty income. Next key feature was the Cerberus layer that is Radix's consensus layer. And this is where, of course, you have the unlimited scalability that is not sacrificing the atomic composability. And this is the DPoS section, delegated proof of stake, that I was talking about before, where you have people coming in, they're staking, they're helping govern the network and helping secure the network. This is a really interesting and deep layer here that I really highly recommend, once again, similar to Scripto, and reading up on how easy it is to develop on Radix. Definitely reading into what Cerberus is and how it works here is really interesting. I love DPoS projects, and there's been a lot of experimentation in the DPoS space, so it's cool reading up on how this is being utilized with Radix. Next, you have components, and this is Radix's smart contract section here, where the developers are easily able to deploy a basic contract all the way to a dApp. Once the components are created, they're added to the on-ledger marketplace, the Blueprint library, and this is where people are going to be rewarded for every single time a transaction takes place using that code. If you create something very fundamental to creating dApps on the platform itself, developer comes in and utilizes that code, and their code is used with a transaction, you're making royalty income, which is such a cool approach to how they're going to maintain high quality code contributions here. Earlier, I mentioned the trilemma that Radix is solving, and taking that to another level, we can take this to the quadrilemma stage, where Radix is solving for the decentralization, the scalability, the atomic composability, and also the security. All four of these wrapped together, and the royalty payments that are helping all of the developers, that are submitting code. This incentive on top of the solution to the quadrilemma, I think, is a winning mixture here. Now, this is not financial advice by any means, but I find it fascinating that they have addressed a lot of the problems that have been facing this space for a long time. So the Olympia mainnet is going live in 6 days, which is a pretty exciting launch given they have been building Radix for a very long time. And I feel like this is something that is going to be everywhere. It's going to be a big deal in the space. So I'm really honored to be able to be working with them on this announcement and this release, because I do feel like this is going to be a game changer, because approaching $100 trillion market of the global financial industry and doing it in this really new, innovative, scalable approach, I think is a way that is really going to blow this out of the water. I haven't seen anything like this before, not to mention their massive community. If you go and look up the Radix community on Twitter, you'll find like 26,000 followers. If you look on Etherscan, you'll see that they have over 8,500 wallets. You can look on their Discord and see that they have over 10,000 people on there right now. And it's a fascinating community built around something that is effectively a huge deal. And I haven't seen anything really come across my desk here like this in a very long time. And I think that it is going to be something that is mainstream very quickly. That is it for my overview here of Radix. I hope that it was simplified down enough. You guys get a chance to check it out with all the links in the description below. As a quick disclaimer, this is a sponsored review. I reached out to them because I heard about this project from a friend of mine, and this is definitely going to be a big deal. And I always want to bring you guys the best projects out there. This one, in my opinion, is going to be something game-changing for the DeFi space as a whole. So definitely check it out with the link in the description. Do your own research. This isn't financial advice or anything like that. But the mainnet, the Olympia mainnet, is going live next week. So very exciting to see that. And I'm glad that I could bring it to you guys before it goes live. And that is it for this episode. Slap a like if you like this, and definitely subscribe and leave a comment about Radix in the comment section below. And I will see you guys on the next episode of Hack Crypto.